Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again, taking your source material, digging in, and pulling out those strategic insights you need.
That's right. And today we're looking at a really foundational financial philosophy, one that honestly has shaken up conventional thinking for, what, decades now?
Definitely. We're focusing on the framework that comes from this stark contrast between two father figures. You've got the narrator's own dad, the poor dad,
Yep.
highly educated, PhD, but always, struggling with money.
Mm-hmm. And then there's his friend's dad, the rich dad, never finished eighth grade, supposedly, but became one of the wealthiest guys in Hawaii. It's a classic setup.
It really is the ultimate puzzle, isn't it? How does the guy with all the schooling end up leaving bills while the one with almost no formal education builds, well, an empire?
Yeah.
So our mission today is to really unpack that rich dad philosophy. We're looking at this counterintuitive idea that real financial security doesn't come from your job or even your professional skills, really. It comes from specific financial education.
But let's, get right to it. This philosophy involves things like risk, using debt, leveraging systems. It really flies in the face of that safe, stable path the poor dad advocated.
That's a crucial point to make right up front, because the whole premise kind of hinges on understanding that what feels safe and secure, well, it might actually be a trap.
Exactly. The core message isn't just get rich. It's about making choices that lead to actual freedom. And that's something the educated poor dad, bless him, just didn't grasp because job security was like the ultimate goal for him.
Okay, let's dig into that difference in advice then. Poor Dad's playbook was, well, pretty standard middle-class stuff. Study hard, good grades, safe job, big company, great benefits. Sounds sensible, right? Low risk, stable life. What's wrong with that?
Well, it's not inherently wrong, maybe, but it's definitely high tax advice and maybe low freedom advice, ultimately. Rich Dad's view was just fundamentally different. It was learn how money works, like really works, then make it work for you.
And he showed this how. There was that
Yeah, the experiment. He had the narrator and his friend Mike work for him. 3 weeks, 10 cents an hour. Then, and this is the kicker, he dropped their pay to zero. Nothing.
zero.
To force them to think beyond the paycheck. The lesson wasn't about the wage itself. It was about the psychology of getting paid.
Right. The source argues most people were basically run by two emotions when it comes to money.
Exactly. First, there's fear. Fear of bills, fear of getting fired, fear of, what the neighbors think. That's what gets most people out of bed and off to work.
Okay. And the second?
As soon as that paycheck hits, greed or maybe just desire takes over. The urge to buy things, the things you think money brings, and this
Right.
push and pull.
That's the trap.
Yeah.
That's the rat race.
Yeah.
Get up, go to work, pay bills, repeat. Your money ends up controlling your emotions, your life, really,
Yeah.
instead of the other way around.
And what's really interesting is the mindset difference around risk that comes out of this. People in the rat race, they're always playing not to lose. They stick with what's familiar, what feels safe, even if it's, well, financially crippling long term.
Whereas the rich dad's philosophy is different.
Completely. It's about understanding that winning often means being unafraid to lose. Mistakes, losses, they're just feedback, learning opportunities, people playing it safe. The fear of losing beats them before they even start.
Okay, so the rat race is the problem. What's the tool, though? The fundamental thing rich dad proposes to escape it.
Right, that brings us to what the text calls rule number one. It's knowing the difference between an asset and a liability. And then, crucially, putting all your energy into buying assets.
Seems simple enough, but how does he define them? Because accountants have, complex definitions.
His are brutally simple. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it.
Okay, hold on. That sounds overly simplistic. Is the source seriously saying someone earning, say, $200,000 a year who just bought a big house with a mortgage, they're financially worse off than someone making $50 who rents but owns some stocks?
In terms of cash flow, yes, precisely. The argument is all about the pattern of cash flow, not the salary number. For most poor and middle-class people, the pattern is the same. Income comes in from a job.
Right, earned income.
And it immediately goes out to acquire liabilities, things they think are assets like the house or a fancy car, but they just generate expenses month after month.
You mean like the classic story of the young couple, they get a raise, buy the dream house?
Yep, bigger house, new furniture, maybe a nicer car, and boom, suddenly their expenses swell. Mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, all that stuff. More income just led straight to more debt and higher spending.
So the house, often called your biggest asset,
Yep.
it's actually behaving like a liability because money flows out for it constantly.
That's the middle class trap in a nutshell. The rich, on the other hand, focus relentlessly on buying things that generate cash flow, real assets. Stocks that pay dividends, bonds, rental properties, maybe businesses they don't have to actively manage.
Stuff that puts money in their pocket.
Exactly. And that cash flow, it pays for their lifestyle, sure, but critically, it's also reinvested to buy more assets. The asset column grows, generates more cash flow, buys more assets. It's a cycle. That's how the rich get richer. It's a system.
So the big takeaway here for you listening is, it's not just about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. And maybe even more importantly, how hard that kept money works for you.
Right. Money without financial intelligence.
Yeah.
Well, the source says it's money soon gone.
Okay, so you understand assets versus liabilities, you focus on cash flow. What's the next step? The strategy.
The next core idea is summed up in the phrase, mind your own business.
Which doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow, necessarily.
No, not at all. It means while you're working at your job or profession, that's your income column, your primary focus, your real business, is building your asset column, totally separate from your salary.
Got it. And the Ray Kroc story, the McDonald's founder, illustrates this.
Perfectly. It's a great anecdote. He was talking to an MBA class, asked them what business he was in. They all said, hamburgers.
Oh, naturally.
But Kroc said, no, my business is real estate.
Whoa. Okay, explain that.
He realized the real money, the sustainable wealth, wasn't just the markup on the burgers, it was the system he built. A system where his franchisees were basically required to buy or lease the land under their restaurants.
From Kroc's company.
Exactly. He wasn't just selling franchise rights. He was accumulating incredibly valuable real estate paid for by his franchisees' success. He built a system generating passive income, totally separate from flipping burgers.
That focus on systems, that leads to the next big piece, doesn't it? What the source calls the biggest secret the rich use.
Yeah, the power of the corporation. And this is primarily about understanding legal structures and, frankly, the tax code.
Now, for a lot of listeners, that probably sounds like something for, huge companies or the super wealthy. How does the text suggest an average person can even start thinking about this?
The key point is that you don't wait until you are rich to set these things up. You use them to become rich. Look at the cash flow difference. An employee earns money.
Gets taxed first, often at the highest rates.
Right. And then they spend whatever's left. A corporation flips that completely. It earns money. Then it spends whatever it legally can on pre-tax expenses, things the business needs, maybe a car, travel, meals, within the rules, of course.
Okay.
And then it gets taxed only on the profit that's left over, which can be minimal if managed correctly. It's a massive built-in tax advantage.
So that shift, earning taxing spending for employees versus earning spending taxing for corporations, that changes the whole game.
It changes absolutely everything. It means the rich, or at least those who use corporations effectively, can legally pay a much lower percentage in tax than the middle class.
And this combination of legal know-how and financial smarts, that's how the rich invent money. Let's revisit that example because it's pretty mind-bending.
Yeah, it's a crucial illustration of seeing opportunity differently. Okay, so rich dad finds a small foreclosed house. Price tag, $20,000.
Does he use his own cash?
Nope. Borrows the $20, maybe from a friend, short term, like 90 days. Then immediately he finds a buyer and sells the house for $60,000.
Okay, quick $40,000 profit on paper. But he doesn't have the cash yet from the buyer.
Correct. Here's the clever part. He doesn't take the $60 cash. He sets it up with the buyer using a promissory note, basically an IOU. The buyer agrees to pay him, say, $1,000 a month for the next 10 years, plus interest.
Ah, I see. So he uses some of that initial payment stream maybe, or just finds the cash, pays back the original $20,000 loan to his friend within the 90 days.
Right. And what's left? He's created, out of basically nothing, a $40,000 asset, that promissory note. And that note spins off passive cash flow every single month for a decade.
With almost none of his own money initially tied up and very little risk once the deal was structured.
That's financial intelligence in action. You don't find these opportunities just scanning the classifieds. You see them with your mind once you understand finance, leverage, and the legal angles.
Okay, we've covered the mechanics, assets, cash flow, systems, corporations. But the source makes a big point that just knowing this stuff isn't enough. Why do people who understand this, even intellectually, still fail to act.
Yeah, the internal roadblocks. The text lists 5 big ones: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance.
Let's touch on a couple. Cynicism, for example.
We all know cynics, right? It's
Yeah.
often just fear and doubt, wearing a different hat, that, oh, that'll never work, or the sky is falling kind of attitude.
Yeah, they'd tear down the Ray Kroc example or say corporations are evil.
Exactly. They criticize and close their minds. Whereas winners, the text argues, analyze, they look at the Korkok model and say, okay, how did he do that? What can I learn? The answer to fear isn't getting rid of it. You probably can't. It's about taking calculated action anyway.
And what about laziness? Not necessarily physical laziness, but maybe just feeling overwhelmed, too busy to learn finance.
The book has a slightly provocative cure for that. A little greed.
Meaning?
Meaning you need to find a really strong desire. You have to answer that, what's in it for me? Question the WIIFM with something powerful enough to push you through the learning curve and motivate consistent action. That desire fuels the financial intelligence.
And that connects directly to breaking bad habits, especially the habit of paying ourselves last. Why is that so common? We pay the mortgage, the credit cards, the tax man, and then see if anything's left for savings or investment.
It comes back to fear again, doesn't it? Fear of the consequences if you don't pay those bills immediately. The most powerful counter habit, the rich dad habit, is pay yourself first.
Put money into your asset column before you pay your monthly bills.
Exactly. And yeah, that might make things tight sometimes, but the key is you use that pressure. You don't immediately panic and raid your savings or investments. You let the pressure force your brain to find new ways to generate income to cover the bills.
That sounds tough.
Yeah.
But it builds financial muscle, discipline.
It builds serious financial fortitude. It forces you to become resourceful.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the big picture for you, the listener, if we synthesize the Rich Dad philosophy?
Well, the main goal, the path to real financial freedom, is about converting your income. You need to shift from earned income, which is the highest taxed, least efficient type, into passive income from assets or portfolio income from investments.
And doing that isn't just one skill. It requires developing what the source calls your financial IQ across 4 integrated areas.
Right. You need basic accounting, understanding the numbers, reading financial statements. You need investing savvy, knowing how to make more money. You need to understand markets, the dynamics of supply and demand. And you absolutely need to understand the law, especially around taxes and corporations. It's the synergy of all 4.
It really defines your whole financial trajectory. The text uses that great analogy of Ed and Bill.
Oh, yeah, the pipeline versus the bucket. Ed is the typical employee or self-employed person. He works hard, carries buckets of water back and forth day in, day out. He's trading his time and massive effort directly for money.
If he stops carrying buckets, the money stops. That's the ES quadrant reality. Employee, self-employed, stressful, reliant on constant effort.
Exactly. That's the rat race condensed. Then there's Bill. Bill disappears for a while. He's not carrying buckets. He's working intensely, but he's building a pipeline, a system. And once that pipeline is built, the cash flow flows 24/7, whether Bill is actively working right then or not. He's moved to the BI quadrant, business owner investor. The choice is stark. Keep carrying the bucket forever, or invest the time and effort now to build your pipeline.
So at the end of the day, the most powerful asset any of us have, it's our mind.
Absolutely. If you're looking around and not seeing financial opportunities, the message here isn't that they don't exist. It's that you haven't yet invested the time to train your mind, your financial genius, to recognize them.
Which leaves us with a final thought, really a question for you to take away. What new skill, what piece of financial knowledge will you invest in today that could fundamentally change your future cash flow pattern?
That decision, that commitment to learn, and then critically to act. That's what determines whether you're on the path of the rich, the poor, or the perpetually struggling middle class. It's a choice you make every day with every dollar you handle.